Alright guys, welcome back to Underground Science, and in this video we'll be looking at the idea of antigen presentation, alright, by specific white blood cells, and we'll look at a few examples also. So antigen presentation is a really good way for your immune system to actually get better, alright? So what I mean by that is, so let's go and actually dive into an example first. So you know how we have macrophages, right, in our body? So we have macrophages, which are a type of phagocyte that's part of our immune system. So let's say this is our macrophage. Okay, so this is our macrophage. And in our macrophage, we can go ahead and draw our nucleus, right? And so what we see is that on our macrophage, we have many MHC2 complexes. All right, so before we even get to that, let's go ahead and see how we present things. All right, so how this presentation works. It's actually pretty cool. So in our macrophage, let's say we can draw a bunch of really hard enzymes, right? Really cytotoxic enzymes like lysozymes. All right, so these can be lysozymes here that I'm drawing. All right, so some type of lysozymes or granzymes, right? So let's just go and say lysozymes. And so what will happen is that if we see a virus, let's say, floating around, right? If we see virus, like a really mad virus, right? Just like floating around. So let me go ahead and just draw like a huge blob. And let's say this is our virus, all right? So let's say this represents our virus. If our macrophage sees it, right, it'll try to phagocytose it, all right? So it'll try to suck it in through phagocytosis. And so once it does that, it's actually going to lead to this. So let's go and draw what it looks like next. So then what's going to happen is that the virus is going to be, let's go and draw that again. We know it has a nucleus, so let's leave that out. The virus is going to be like this now. It's going to be inside, right? Inside our macrophage, right? And we're going to have, let's see, what else do we have there? A bunch of lines. Let's just go and keep it consistent, right? So this is going to be our virus now. It's going to be phagocytosed, right, in our macrophage. So see what happened. So it was outside now. Our macrophage went to it, right? Then it phagocytosed it, right? So it brought it inside itself. So now we have the virus inside. And now what it's going to do is that these lysozymes, right, that we have are really cool enzymes that can actually, that the macrophages actually release onto our virus, right, or whatever pathogen we just endocytosed, and it actually destroys the crap out of it into smaller proteins. Okay, so let's see what this looks like. Just go and draw right here. All right, so now what's going to happen, sorry about that. So now what's going to happen is that we're going to have a macrophage, and instead of the whole virus, we're going to have a bunch of small bits of the virus. So we're going to have a bunch of small bits of the virus. All right, so like right here, right here, right here, right? So it's going to be lysed by the lysozymes. It's going to be broken down into much smaller proteins. All right, so which is just a string of amino acids, right? So let's go ahead and actually, you know what, let's go and first draw some blue in here, right? Because we had some blue in here in our virus that we're currently trying to break the crap out of, and we actually did, right? Because of our lysozymes that are present in our macrophages. And so once this happens, right? Okay, so we took care of the virus, we brought it inside. However, now our immune system does an extra step, and that's actually what it's going to do. It's going to be called antigen presentation, where it's going to lead to further antibodies being produced against this virus, right? And so next time this virus gets exposed in our body, we can get rid of it much quicker. So it kind of does an extra step for us. Not only does it take it away, right, take the danger away, but it also breaks it apart, and it attracts more white blood cells to it and ultimately causes antibody production against this virus. So what's going to happen is that now we're going to have these small bits of protein is going to be brought up, called antigen, right? So these are all antigens of the virus, are going to be brought up to the surface, and we'll see that we're going to have many complexes. All right, so let's actually, you know what, that's going to take too much time. So let's just draw maybe one or two, right, or just one for this, for the sake of understanding this, right? So we're going to see there's many complexes on the membrane of a macrophage, and this complex, right? So this complex is going to be called our MHC2 complexes. All right, so our MHC2 complexes. So let's go ahead and label this out first. So this is our MHC2 complex. All right, and so what this MHC2 complex is going to do is it's going to take one of these antigens and present it on itself. All right, so what it's going to do is going to take one of these antigens and present it on itself. And so what good is this? Well, it's actually going to bring, like, for example, we'll see in the future, we can go over it quick right now, is that we might see a T cell, for example, try to come here, right? Try to come here, and we'll see some interactions between the macrophage and the T cell via release of inflammatory cytokines that could then in turn activate this T cell, right, for this specific binding spot for this specific antigen. And we'll see that this T cell can then go somewhere else and find a B lymphocyte and make antibodies against a specific virus, right, against a specific antigen. So this right here, this process of the macrophage breaking the virus down into smaller pieces, smaller proteins, and presenting those proteins, those antigens, on the surface of the macrophage's membrane, specifically on the MHC2 complexes, is called antigen presentation. All right, so it's called antigen presentation. And so we call these types of white blood cells professional antigen presenting cells. All right, so white blood cells, white blood cells that can take the virus or whatever pathogen and break it apart, then present those antigens on the surface of their cells via the MHC2 complex for other white blood cells to arrive to this area and for further activation of T cells, are called professional, sorry about that, guys, are called professional antigen presenting cells because they're really good at presenting antigens on their surface of their cell, right? So they're called professional antigen presenting cells. All right, so again, white blood cells that can take in a pathogen, break it apart via enzymatic activity, and then present those smaller proteins or those antigens on the surface of their cell on the MHC2 complex are called professional antigen presenting cells. So we only took the example of macrophages, or a macrophage doing this, right? However, if we want to know a few more examples, that would be good to know for the future, right? Other professional antigen presenting cells include our B cells. Actually, the B cells themselves can also take in a pathogen, break it apart, and present it. So B cells, right? We have dendritic cells that can do that also. So dendritic cells, right? And we also have these white blood cells called Langerhans cells that can do that too. Langerhans cells. All right, so Langerhans cells are special types of dendritic cells that are mostly present within the epidermis layer of our skin. All right. But anyway, we'll talk more about skin, right? Our skin playlist for physiology in a future time, right? A future playlist. So, but for now, just know that some professional antigen presenting cells are macrophages, Langerhans cells, dendritic cells, and B cells. All right, so know these antigen presenting cells, professional antigen presenting cells, because those are pretty common. All right. So that's the basic idea of antigen presentation, and it's really helpful in the future for ultimately making antibodies against specific virus or even attracting more white blood cells to this area to take care of the virus, all right, or whatever pathogen is nearby. And so this is all I wanted to get through in this video about an antigen presentation, just to get the basic idea of it. I really hope this video made sense to you guys. I hope to see you guys in my future videos. We'll talk about more cool topics about biochem, physics, and chem. Make sure to hit that notification bell, like, and subscribe. See you guys later, and stay safe.